Good morning, everyone. I'm Serena from Zua Modern. I'm the marketing and trade show coordinator, and some of the things that I get to do is put together exciting panels and work with very talented experts like we have here today. I'd like to introduce our moderator. This is Stacey Tiburon of Renati, and you'll learn more about Renati soon. So she's going to go ahead and talk for a second and introduce our panelists, and I thank you guys all for coming. Also, afterwards, we're going to have a cocktail sort of reception in A442. So if you wanted to chat with any of our esteemed panelists and you want to join us at our showroom, I look forward to seeing you there as well.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for taking time out of your market to be here with us. They did turn on the air conditioner, so hopefully we won't be roasting the entire time. But we're going to keep it moving quickly, and our intention is to have it entertaining as well as insightful and valuable to you so that you can glean some insight from these amazing panelists that you can work with in terms of your own strategies, increasing your brands, what you do, etc. So first I'm going to introduce our panelists, okay? Everybody good? Yes? Okay, great. Good. So, let's see here. All right, that's me. Let's skip that one. Okay, so we've got Rachel Donay. French. Beautiful. Okay, so we've got them in different orders, so just hang tight with me one sec because I want to tell you about each one. So Rachel is an e-commerce account executive at Lunge Marketing. She is a marketing and e-commerce solutions expert. Lunge Marketing is a full-spectrum e-commerce managed services company that's located in Seattle. Rachel has a very rich background in the home furnishings and design industry, having worked as a buyer, a category manager, and a national public relations manager for a Fortune 50 company, a director of sales and marketing for a furniture manufacturer, and a business manager for a Chicago-based interior design firm. So it really sort of crosses the gamut for her. She also started her own public relations and marketing firm at the age of 29 and has written for and been featured in several industry publications. Welcome, Rachel.
Welcome.
Okay, now we have Kevin. Kevin is the Executive Vice President for E-commerce of Zuo, who we adore. He is a newly appointed Executive Vice President. He's a 30-year veteran retailer who has spent the last 10 years as founder and president of F&O International, which is a consulting firm that was formed to help major brands geographically reposition merchandise throughout North America. Got that?
Wow.
Prior to that, he was at MJC International, where he served as Vice President Operations and VP Licensing. And prior to that, he was 2 decades in merchandising and buying positions of different responsibility levels at Gap, Ross, Esprit, Fog Dog Sports, Target, and Macy's. So serious retail experience. Welcome, Kevin.
Welcome, Kevin.
Okay, next we have Liza. Liza is Vice President of Industry Marketing at House, which is a super innovative residential remodeling and design platform and community for anyone who hasn't heard of it, which means you've been under a rock somewhere. Liza has experience spanning advertising, consulting, marketing, and social strategy for Fortune 500 brands to a host of innovative startups as well. She actually co-founded her first internet startup in '98. So this was the time of You've Got Mail, AOL, and most people were still on word processors. So that's fantastic. That startup eventually sold to Walmart, and then over the last 7 years, she's just continued on her online and e-commerce career. And in the last 7 years, she's been working with interior designers, architects, contractors, and landscape designers to remodel and decorate nearly every inch of her home in Palo Alto, California. So she's been in it as the consumer as well. So welcome, Liza. Okay, Jason. Welcome, Jason.
Welcome.
I'll grab that in a second. Jason is the co-owner of Furnitureland South, the largest retail furniture store in the world. This is located in the furniture capital of America, which is High Point, North Carolina. Another one of these brands that if you haven't heard of, then, well, welcome to the world. He also is the founder of the Design Network, which is an interactive broadband TV network that features shoppable, entertaining videos. And it's all about home design, multiple different series. And that network is available on Apple TV, Roku, YouTube, and TDN.TV. So it's fascinating. He's a graduate of UNC Chapel Hill, and he lectures to professional groups and college students across the country on business development, entrepreneurship, and technology application. He also happens to be the dad of 5 kids, ages 7 to 20, with his beautiful wife, Jenny, and they're just fantastic. So welcome, Jason. Oh, so many people. Okay, great. And then we've got Libby. Okay, again, all of these panelists are so incredible. I keep wanting to say if you don't know who Libby is, but just in case, we'll go through it. Libby is, here we go, she is an interior designer, an author, a product designer, and a makeover television personality, as well as the creative force behind New York City-based design firm, Libby Interiors. She is fast also becoming known for her growing collections of branded home furnishings. She's got them with Christorama for lighting. She's got outdoor furniture with North Cape and indoor and outdoor rugs with Cats rugs. Her interior designs and home products have been featured in Shelter magazines, some that you've heard of maybe, Architectural Digest, Traditional Home, House Beautiful, Better Homes and Gardens, Hampton's Cottages and Gardens, and she's also a contributing editor to House Beautiful magazine. She's a regular makeover design expert on NBC's Today Show, HGTV's Small Space, Big Style, The View, The Rachel Ray Show, Fox Design Invasion, and NBC's Open House. I know, really, it's a little embarrassing, isn't it? And she, of course, is an author of a book called Libby Langdon's Small Space Solutions, and she travels across the country presenting informative seminars, engaging in panels, and works with consumers, designers, and retailers about all things design. Fantastic, welcome. Okay, good. We're going through this really quickly, but we're almost done. Here we go. We are on Dan. Next time we'll put them in the order that we're doing them. Jason, here we go. Dan. Dan's pretty fascinating as well. Dan is the Senior Director of Product Management. He manages product development at WearAware.com. WearAware.com is fascinating. They provide product solutions and technology solutions for retailers and brands. It's so many different solutions, you'd actually have to talk to them to figure out it's a menu. It's literally a menu. He specializes in developing and launching new products and promoting growth strategies for their clients. His team has been recognized as IBM's Partner and/or Agency of the Year for 4 consecutive years, as well as honored with a Marketing Sherpa Email Award and an Email Experience Council Award. So, welcome, Dan. Thank you. Okay, we can cut the back.
Thank
All
you.
right. So we have everyone. Welcome. Let's give them a nice round of applause. All right. So we are talking about online e-commerce, cultivating your brand online. This could literally be a 5-week seminar. Each one of these professionals could do a 4-hour talk just themselves, which we won't do. So my job as moderator is to glean that down into some insightful tactics, nuggets that you guys can take away with you from this, right? Before we get started, just so we know who we're talking to in the crowd, can you raise your hand if you're an interior designer? Fantastic. Can you raise your hand if you're a brand? Okay, great. Are you in technology? Okay, great. Are you in marketing? Now, obviously every brand is in marketing too, but marketing on its own? Okay, great. And then marketplace. Okay, great. So we've got a nice mixture of everyone here. So we're going to get some nice different perspectives. We are going to take 2 slices of this broad subject. We're going to start with, first, let's get agreement on the basic premise of everything that we do online is to be able to drive business and sales to our businesses so that they thrive and survive, right? Right. So it's not just about woohoo, da-da-da, right? It's about actually driving business, growing your business, getting more employees for your business, right? Etc. All right, so that's sort of the perspective that we're all taking is things that we can do online to increase that. So one of the first questions that we're going to go over is selling your products or services online. Like, this is selling them. How do you do customer acquisition? What are your options online? There are lots of different ways to do it non-directly, right? Lots of different options and places to be and blogs and communities and groups, etc. But in terms of actually selling and directly trying to acquire new customers, we've got 3 options that we're looking at for this question. And that is, you've got your own website, you've got major marketplaces. Major marketplaces would be your big 5 or 6, right? So Amazon, eBay, Etsy, I consider, well, House would be, it's a major marketplace, but it also is niche because it's niche in terms of its home, right? But your major marketplaces are the big ones, right? That are very, very broad. And then your third option are your niche marketplaces. So even though House is focused on home, so it would be considered a niche marketplace, it's a mammoth niche marketplace. You're also looking at other smaller niche marketplaces like Cherish in the vintage and antique market. That's more of a niche, even though they're quite large. You've got Perigold, you've got Design Within Reach that goes more on the contemporary side. So you guys tracking with me on those 3 options? Okay. So one of the things that's amazing to me, and I think insightful for all of you, is that Forrester reported that more than half of all e-commerce spending online comes through marketplaces. And that's expected to rise to about 2/3, right? So if you're a brand or you're a designer and you've just got your own website and that's how you're expecting to get the eyeballs of 6 billion people, you might want to look at the numbers on that, right? Isn't that fascinating? Okay. All right, good. So laying the groundwork for that, now we're going to go to the experts here. So Libby, we're going to start with you because you come from so many different perspectives. What is your take in terms of one location, really niche location, lots of locations?
Well, I think it's twofold for me because as a product designer, where I'm finding I'm getting to touch the consumer through web-based companies like a Lamps Plus or things where they're actually selling my product online. Where I'm finding success with that right now is creating additional content. So what different brands, my lighting is with Christorama, rugs are with Cass. So much of that e-commerce is where we're moving the volume of the product. And what I'm finding is helpful for me to be able to offer to my partners is to create content, create a story about my top favorite 10 lighting tips. And then they do a special flash sale with a Bellacore, a Joss & Main, an Avenue like that. So it still is touching on the niche a little bit, but it's a way for me to help the consumer get some information. And so as a designer, that's something I'm able to do. The second part of that is if you are an interior designer and you're trying to really grow your business and get more clients and get more eyeballs on what you're doing, a big thing that I'm working on now is using YouTube as a platform and filming videos and things like that. And I know I have an extensive background with makeover television, but even if as a designer you're not used to being on camera, start. It's coming there. It's the way it's going to go, and it's how you're going to start to reach different clients. It's how they're going to see you're approachable. And even if you're not comfortable on camera, you know why you designed a room the way you did. You know what you did and why you chose that fabric and those colors. So confidence comes from that, but it's practice. So for me, I would say if I'm walking the line with my my product partners, it's about creating content that they can then put out for retailers and online service. And then as an interior designer, it's my job to have a YouTube channel, create content, film installations, get all that stuff up on my website. And if you have somebody who's on the fence on if they want to work with you or not, 9 times out of 10, if they think you're approachable, accessible, and the process is going to be fun, and they can see that as a video on your website, there's a lot of value to that. So that would be my recommendation.
Fantastic. On with the brands that you're working with and that you license with, have you noticed any correlation in terms of the number of sales that are passing through that correlate to the number of marketplaces that they're selling on?
Absolutely, absolutely. And let's face it, people are up and they are shopping in their pajamas at 2 in the morning. And you have to have content that is going to bust through the noise and make sure that people are going to be able to find what you're trying to sell. And so without a doubt, and it's another thing too when I'm at markets in High Point or here or Dallas, and I get the opportunity to meet these e-commerce retailers that come in, I want to talk to them and say, have I got content for you? That's something that I can bring to the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of online shoppers.
Yeah.
I've seen it, and I get the royalty reports, and you can track every single sale.
Awesome.
There's value in that.
Fantastic. So you definitely recommend multi-channel.
Absolutely.
Right.
For me, if I weren't approaching my sales that way, it would be a fraction of the money that I'm making. And I was very intent when I did partner with my licensees is I wanted to make sure that that was going to be the platform. I didn't want them to only sell to the trade, just to designers. I want those people shopping at 2 in the morning, and they shop a lot. Yeah, good news for all of us.
And with the trade, do you make sure that there are outlets for the trade to be able to get your products as well at a discount so that they can then also profit off of the specification?
Absolutely, and I think what's exciting now is so many different manufacturers are seeing the value and the volume of business that designers are doing. So if, say, lighting retailers really held the market on that and manufacturers were scared to open up their sales directly to designers, we're starting to see that happen right now because they're understanding the value. And what they are doing is finding ways to make it appealing to the retailers, if it's bricks and mortar or whatever, so they're not feeling like they're getting undercut with designers being able to buy it. But I think at the end of the day, if we all look at it, I don't know about you guys as designers, but there is enough business out there, and you just got to go find it.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Thank you. Rachel, we're going to switch over to you. You help sellers build their brand and sales within major marketplaces. And that lunge marketing originally was focusing heavily on Amazon. And of course now you work with your brands to increase their exposure, increase their sales, their reviews, etc., not just on Amazon, but also on Wayfair, on eBay, and Etsy, like across the big markets. And you do that all through data-driven analytics, right? So when you look at the brands that you're advising, what is your insight in terms of who's more successful? Multi-channel marketing, do you recommend that they're going on broad niche? Like what like when you look at your brands in terms of success?
Well, I will say this, at the end of the day, 55% of all product research starts on Amazon. So if you're a designer and you have licensed deals, you need to make sure that your product is being represented appropriately. And Libby kind of spoke to this, but content really is key, making sure that everything is optimized, making sure that you as a designer or you as a manufacturer, that your product is being represented appropriately and is hitting that target market. From there, when people do that market research, they go ahead and they do look at other niche markets, such as house. I mean, a lot of the brands that we currently work with have designers who have specific collections, and they are more successful with their purchases on house or Wayfair or, let's say, Zulily or something along those lines, but it starts with the research on Amazon. So therefore, you really have to kind of like take that step back and make sure that your images are appropriate, and then as a designer, use your social media platforms to then drive traffic to those sites. A lot of people forget about that. I love the idea of doing YouTube channels, but if you forget to say, go here to look at my product, or go here to look at my brand, or to have a designer profile set up on house where you can have your beautiful products laid out in all of your collections, then you're kind of missing that next step to get the conversion for yourself. And therefore, what we do is we work with brands to kind of lay out that entire plan for them, and then work with designers so that they can make sure that they're getting all of their content optimized as quickly as possible.
Fantastic. Now, do you, a lot of people have a little, like we all use Amazon, we all love Amazon.
Prime.
Right? Instead of asking who uses Amazon, is there anyone here who doesn't use Amazon? Okay, there you go. So 3 out of this crowd. So even though we all love Amazon, when I'm out and about, we're talking about products on Amazon, there's a general feeling of like, well, you know, you don't want high-end on Amazon, or you don't go for your furniture on Amazon, or you're not going for a brand on Amazon. Like, you're going for your son's cleats, and you're going for some light bulbs, and you're going for books, and right? Is that kind of the view? So do you think that that's changing, Rachel?
Absolutely. So we were just at an Amazon summit. Lunch Marketing is located in Redmond, Washington, so we're just 10 minutes away from Seattle. We're literally at the Amazon campus several times a week. Year-over-year growth for their home furnishings industry is 33%. And they're projecting that next year it's going to be the same or even larger. Knowing their growth, knowing the fact that they're getting 2 more campuses, the fact that they are also kind of projecting in a whole new direction, and they want to make unique partnerships with designers. If you are a designer, you're an influencer, you're a blogger, you are a TV personality, they actually have designer profiles, and you can go on there just like you can do with House, and you can put your product up, or you can go ahead and say, this is what I would shop, these are my recommendations, and you can work and use that as a tool to get your royalties up and running. And the other thing I would say with this is, if you are a designer, really partner with your brands. Make sure that they're representing you, that their SEO content is optimized, that you are being represented in your collections through them as efficiently as possible. That if you have beautiful videos, if you have great imagery, if you just went and did a show home, or you did a renovation for someone, and your product is being featured there, make sure that your name is attached. Make sure that you are being geotagged in every one of your listings across all e-commerce platforms, because that is where you are really going to see the uptick in all of your Google search analytics.
Okay, great. Thank you. Fantastic. Jason? Okay, now we're going over to the seller, the retailer perspective, right? So you've got over 1,000 brands that are represented with Furnitureland South. You guys have had Furnitureland South for decades, brick and mortar, right? So when you look at your online strategies, what are you looking at in terms of, do you do marketplace selling? Is it all through Furnitureland South? Like, what are your thoughts?
Thank you for having me as part of this panel and representing brick and mortar. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And we're celebrating our 50th year of being in business this year.
Fantastic.
And you know, e-commerce is sort of a new area for us to be focusing on, frankly. We've always looked at the web as a step in the purchasing process and not really the step. But we've been putting a lot of energy and effort into experimentation and development in this area. We have to keep up with the times, right? But we can't ignore really our DNA, and you know, whatever we do online has to dovetail into what we're doing in the store.
Right.
And so we really set our sights on a concept that we're calling unified commerce, which I'll explain to you shortly. But today we have really 2 types of businesses when you look at our store retail business as well as e-commerce. And let me explain how they're very different. In the store, you know, we're all about relationship selling. We have 175 design consultants And we really develop relationships with our clients. We do a tremendous amount of customization. Our average ticket in the store is like $4,000. Again, highly customized. We're doing a ton of custom order upholstery.
Can I just pause you for 1 second? How many people have been to Furnitureland South? Okay, good. So for the rest of you, when he refers to a store, can you just quickly pause and tell them how many buildings and square feet this is? Because this is not a store.
Yeah. So we have like 1.3 million square feet of showroom space. We represent about 1,000 different brands of furniture.
And it's not just representing in catalogs. It's vignette after vignette after vignette. I would never compare Furnitureland South to IKEA in terms of aesthetic, design, product, any of that. But in terms of like how you know, with IKEA, you like go through this whole pathway to get through all of their sections. Well, it's sort of that experience only in home furnishings, from the medium end all the way to the luxe brands. So it's multiple buildings, and they have their own Subway sandwiches and Starbucks. Like, it's just, this is not a store, it is a destination. And a lot of interior designers will actually meet their clients out there, fly them out there, and then do their shopping and do specification there. So I just wanted to make sure they were thinking with the right thing.
Right,
You live
yeah.
it every day, these guys don't, right?
Thank you for saying all those things.
Sure.
And yeah, we have over 1 million square feet. Everything's on a 200-acre campus off of Business 85 in High Point. It really is a destination. But that's our bread and butter. We run a very profitable business, second generation, family-owned business, about 600 employees. And we've been doing a lot of experimentation online, because anything that we talk about doing online has to be thought of in the context of our successful business, where we're doing tons of high-end furniture, and customization and lots of upholstery. The brands that were first for us last year at retail were Wesley Hall and Huntington House. Those were the two top brands in our whole stores, doing millions of dollars with those brands. If they allow us to customize something with those brands, our design consultants do it. And so, our everything's focused around that relationship. The design consultant, we help them design and select. We have a 20,000 square foot design center with fabrics and finishes, and a huge outlet center. And this client typically is willing to wait for this product to be customized and sent through our distribution system.
And is this not just consumers, but also interior designers?
Right. Yeah, about 15% of our business is done through the trade.
Through the trade.
Right.
And so they'll come in and they'll get trade discounts.
They get
so they're incentivized to be able to bring in their
exactly.
clients.
Designers get buy special pricing on a cost plus basis, or they can bring their client in and just earn a commission on the
Fantastic.
order.
And so with the larger brands, they can use your discount with those brands, so they're not having to qualify on their own.
Exactly.
Okay.
So when we compare what we're doing in the store with online, online pure e-commerce for us represents less than 2% of our overall business, and this business is very transactional. It's as opposed to like a $4,000 average ticket in our store. This is like $800 to $1,000. And it's usually 1 to 2 items, and it's really mostly case goods. They're not getting much into the custom upholstery with us, and it's really our starting price point brands that are selling online that don't really register for us in the store as much in terms of volume. Lines like Magnolia Home and Liberty. The other thing we're learning about this online customer is that they require immediate delivery. They're not willing to wait on it, and they require free delivery, right? And also, to get this business, we have found that it requires a whole lot of spending with Google. I mean, like 25% of the profit goes to Google. If you're going to get in, there and do
is this spending through to drive it to your website itself?
Yeah, to
or
get into Google Shopping and to optimize digitally with Google, we've calculated about 25%. So, and then pricing, we have to adhere to MAP pricing, which typically is not on par with
Define MAP.
minimum advertised pricing policies that our vendors have. And so there's just a lot of differences with this online business, you know, and
Right.
we're trying to figure it out.
Right,
You
map
know, it's
pricing is the thing that gets all you designers in trouble with your clients, right? So when a brand is selling through multiple marketplaces and they don't have a minimum advertised pricing level that they set with those marketplaces, that's where you specify with your discount, and then your client 5 days later goes and Googles it, calls you and goes, "Are you ripping me off? Like, you're charging me $880 and I just found it online for $650. And you're like, wow, no, I'm not, but they're just running it through an outlet, right? Yep, gotta Google first before you
Sure.
quote. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. So that's where manufacturers are struggling to make sure that if they're selling to the trade and the consumers, to really get that right and strong. And for those brands that are in the audience, vital for your business.
Right.
Right.
And so, Stacey, the other thing we've learned is that the returns and the cancellations with this transactional consumer are astronomically higher. I got some heads nodding on this. I think you guys are relating, certainly. And then the logistical piece of getting these products to these clients in the time frame that they require is also a big challenge. We pride ourselves on our white glove delivery and our logistics. On our campus in High Point, we have a huge distribution center. We inspect, we pad wrap, we load our own trucks, we deliver furniture into the home across the country. And so because clients typically are willing to wait, we're able to take the time that it takes to schedule these deliveries and build our trucks, and they're willing to wait for it. These online consumers are just not willing to wait. So we're having to go out and partner with third-party logistics companies to have these products shipped and delivered, and they just don't deliver the kind of service that we're known for. And it also costs a lot more. You know, it costs about $250 to have 2 people deliver a piece of furniture into the home. And that is a huge cost, you know, when you're talking about one item.
And being demanded of free shipping.
Right.
So you've got to put that in the price.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
yet they're Google comparing that price across multiple markets.
Right. So another issue that we have run across is certainly vendor data. There is no standard in our industry right now for getting all this information in from the vendors. We're trying as hard as we can to sort of standardize this and get a format in that everybody can work with. Liza, help me with this. So just corralling this
And
product
Rachel,
information.
you're preaching
Yeah.
to the choir here, right?
It's like 20 plus platforms, and everybody's got their own sheet, and then every manufacturer's got their own way of putting data out there. And so it's, how do you synchronize this and compile it? And I fully understand.
Right. So let me tell you about our solution that we're working hard on, that we've implemented a few pieces of it and we're continuing to implement. It's called Unified Commerce.
Right.
And this is basically a system where our clients can transact whenever and wherever they want to. We're finding that they start online, but inevitably we're trying to get them into the hands of a design consultant, a professional that can guide them through this process. They can start online, but they can extend that into a store visit or consultation in collaboration with a design consultant. And the web is just, we're developing as more of a tool for that client to be able to transact whenever and wherever they want to, and make that store part of that process. And we're getting there first by trying to get our vendors all on the same page. We have a huge data initiative right now. We've invested in a new PIM system. Anybody know what PIM stands for? It's a product information management system. We've used a third party called Riversand. And what we love about this platform is it has vendor portals, and it allows these vendors to push their product into us in the format that we need it into.
Yeah.
Getting the EDI feeds from vendors, and then we're curating all this information for
Hey,
the
now
web
define
experience.
EDI fields. We really don't want the audience falling asleep.
Yeah, right. I know. So anyway, we're trying.
That's an electronic data interface,
Yeah.
right? So it's just basically a field so that it can pass through. So when you have a brand, every product you're specifying has a base SKU or a base catalog number, and then it has 562 different options for you as a designer, right? 43 finishes, 17 different sizes, 24 different wood species for the feet, etc. So organizing that data and then having it, because you're really like a mini marketplace, online bricks and mortar, not mini, you're huge, you've got 1,000 brands, but trying to get that data organized so that you, the buyers, the specifiers, can work with it and can find the pieces that you're looking for that fit your budget, fit your parameters, fit your installation, the style, etc. Right? Is everybody tracking with this? Yeah? Okay, finding it interesting? Yeah? Okay, good. So unified.
Yeah.
Keep going.
We're unified. We're trying to unify this experience to make sure that our knowledgeable design consultants in this amazing store is part of the online experience. And but we are curating certain products for the web. We're trying to get synced up with our vendors to be able to do that and attract that online customer.
Well, that's fascinating insight. Super fascinating. I wasn't cutting you off.
No, that's. I'm running out of stuff to say anyway.
It's okay. Did you guys find that fascinating in terms of like the 2% is their online commerce and where they're having success and where they're like doing the struggles? And these are not struggles unique to them. There's been a lot of home furnishing websites and portals that you guys have seen come and go. And the return issues, the shipping issues. Can't wait to get there with you in a minute. Okay, good. So thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Kevin, I left you for last, but I left you for last because you're living this every single day in terms of online commerce with the Zuo brand across multiple marketplaces. What is your insight in terms of, do you want to be in a lot of places? Do you go down just one, or how do you work within this market?
So, lots of answers to the questions. I think it's fascinating to hear the other panel members speak. For those of us who have been in this business, some of us haven't long enough, a lot of these opportunities and challenges are obstacles that have been part of mainline store retail for generations. A lot of these things are not new. They're just, it's a different platform or a different vehicle for buying or making a purchasing decision. So whether it's content and how important it is to tell your story, for thousands of years it's been a salesperson, it's been someone in a bazaar, a marketplace, a retail store, and that's not been a unique challenge. Getting the goods from, especially in the world of furniture or larger ticket items, getting them from one location to another. Jason, you guys have been doing it for 50 years, it's not a new problem. It's just now your selling floor has gone from one location to the entire country. So it's interesting to me because a lot of these things are solvable, they're just being solved in a different way. So everything from data set and analytics, now you pay Google to market your brand online, but it's no different than print advertising or magazine advertising years ago. So things have evolved. What's interesting to me is that I think online, as new as people may want to think it is, it's been around for a while. I'm old enough to remember .com 1.0 and the implosion. I'm also in the Silicon Valley and grew up near where some fellow panelists live. And so what's interesting to me is it's an evolution, it's iteration, it's change, but there also will be, I think, more change coming. For 20 years ago, Walmart was taking over the world, and Walmart was the 800-pound gorilla, and everyone was doing anything they could to differentiate themselves or figure out how to compete with Walmart. Now it's the Amazon discussion. You have a new 800-pound gorilla, you talk about the traffic numbers for online. Those numbers are basically attributable to Amazon. If you look at the 50% web traffic, it's going to Amazon. So whether that's through their third-party marketplace or directly through Amazon. So for us as a vendor, to your question, we do not sell actually directly to consumer. We're not a B2C business. We only sell to the trade. For us, we have several verticals we sell within. So we sell to the hospitality industry. We sell to interior designers. We give pricing to interior designers to give them a profit margin in their experience working with end customers. We work online, and we do participate in some of the marketplaces out there. We have a lot of partners out there.
And in the marketplaces, you are selling B to B to C, which means business to business. So you're selling to one of the marketplaces or under one of the marketplaces, and then they're selling to the consumer.
Correct. So we have more of a traditional wholesale to retail relationship. So whether we sell to Macy's or whether we sell to Bed Bath & Beyond or whether we sell to Furnitureland South, it's we are a wholesaler, and we our arrangements are we let that retailer, whether they're omni-channel, whether they're online only, or whether they're a traditional retailer, we let them handle customer experience.
Right.
So that's how we handle both large and small players. So we don't get in the same sandbox and fight for that same space, so to speak.
Fantastic. Do you, on the various marketplaces that you're selling on online, do you do your entire line on everything? Do you curate specific collections, or do you look at what that marketplace buyer is like? Do they give you analytics so that you're...
Someone's going to kill me probably when I talk about this, but for us as a brand, we kind of have been the Chinese buffet for the last number of years that we've been in business, where we put out our spread and we invite our partners to come and work with us, and they can order dish A versus dish B versus dish C, and so we will maybe sell out of A and still have B and C available. But what we have is a pool of inventory that's shared amongst our both niche partners and larger partners. And so it's really their strategy and what they want to stand for in the market. So back to whether content is king, or whether it's they want to be only in the chair business and they're bar stools only, or whether it's they want to have a full offering. Each retailer out there, each omni-channel, each traditional retailer, each online partner, they have their own strategies. And so for us to dictate, hey, we will only sell you chairs when they're looking to satisfy a broader customer, maybe it's not the right business arrangement, maybe it's not the right relationship, or it's we sell a broader SKU base. Others may be interested just in a narrow base of SKUs or a curated selection, and that's their story.
Right. Interesting. Fascinating. There are a lot of interior designers here today. We're talking a lot so far from retail and the brand side of things, but are you getting some insight here on like how you can navigate even on your own sourcing, looking for marketplaces that are going to help you be able to have margin on what you're working with as well, and just translating that into the products and the pieces that you're trying to put out there to market too? Yes? Yeah? Okay, good. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, good. So now we are going to go to Liza. Did we already go with you on this question? No. I know. There we go. Sorry. I'm just getting so into the panel that I'm forgetting to read where my notes are. Okay, well, with Liza, it's pretty easy here. We've got you, our house. So we're just going to talk about the marketplace perspective.
I don't know how our founders would feel about you saying that, but
I don't mean you, but I mean you've been at House. House is the one of the largest niche marketplaces out there for home design. You've got retailers, you've got contractors, you've got interior designers, you've got consumers. You're putting them all in this mix. You're getting 40 million visits a day, right?
yeah.
So how do your brands, how do your designers, how do they work within this marketplace, and how can you make all of them successful? Like, what are you, not that you've got it all whipped, but what are you trying to do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what's interesting is it's a marketplace for services as well as products. It's a resource for consumers to shop, but we also have a trade program for designers and architects as well, right? Because we understand how they make money and trying to manage that, and we even have a number of brands that are selling to the trade and only to the trade, where it's not even transparent to the consumer that those products are available. But I think whether you're a designer or a brand, there's sort of two questions. One is sort of that eyeballs and traffic, right? If you build it, right, you have to go someplace that they're coming, and then there are trade-offs. So everyone has mixed feelings about marketplaces, niche or otherwise, but having all of that content, bringing together consumers and brands and service providers also kind of creates this kind of wonderful place where you get those eyeballs and you get that targeted traffic, and that's one of the reasons you kind of get a really relevant audience for your services or for the products you're selling. And so regardless, I think, kind of echoing what the panel has said, it's marrying data and storytelling. Kind of you have to manage holistically across both of those pieces. And when I say data, it may be as simple as kind of understanding the keywords associated with your products and really understanding how to describe them in a way that a search engine would look for them in a very basic way. And then on the storytelling side, if you're great on camera, that's fantastic. We've done videos for designers and other pros, and I some people are and some people aren't. And if you aren't, there are other options available to you. Photography is one of them, so we really encourage, no matter what platform you're on, that you're telling your story in words, so you're describing your business, you're really thinking about what differentiates you from the next designer, right, or the next brand. People want to understand that, they want to connect with you as a human being. So being able to do that in words, being able to storytell with before and after photography, so having a consistent 1 or 2 photographers that you work with, so you have a really consistent portfolio with a consistent point of view, right? People are like, oh yes, I really associate that with designer X. Whenever I look at his or her images, I can kind of see that point of view throughout. It's not all over the place. That really helps build your brand and tell a story. Before and after photos also help people understand, sometimes we all get in our little bubble, in our professional bubble, and we think people should understand these things and they should come in, consumers should just come in understanding the value that everybody provides. And they really don't. And it really helps them to be able to see the problems that you solve. You can do that through pictures, you can do that in terms of describing the pictures, but people love to see, I came and did this project and they were really struggling with this space issue, or how to use this funny space, or where I'm gonna put this storage. And so really helping people, or I picked this fabric because they have children and dogs, but they also wanted something elegant, and so here's how I solved that problem. And so being able to articulate that, again, even if you're a brand, helping consumers understand in your product descriptions, don't put generic product descriptions in there, right? There's lots of people talking about blue sofas, but really getting into the detail, even of how it's made or where it's made. People, if you think about millennials and kind of why everything's coming online, these folks are native digital, and they like to know the provenance of things, and they want to know how they're built and where they're built and how they're made and where it came from. And so being able to give consumers, whether they're buying services or products, better insight into the story behind a product can really help make or break you as a business, and help people understand who they're contacting, what they're buying, and build that trust. I mean, the fact that House has grown on the commerce side as quickly as it has in just 4 years has to do with the trust that people have in the brand. They've been coming to House for a long time, right? They believe in the quality, and so that is kind of a quality umbrella that shares, is shared with any products or services that are being put up for sale on House. And so being able to pick marketplaces where you can leverage the brands that you think are quality, the brands that consumers trust, that's a reason to think about taking part in one of these larger communities.
Fantastic.
One of the things, tribute, just
Yeah,
one quick
go
thing,
ahead.
it is to interior designers. Every single one of you, go and email all of your clients that you've worked with, email them through House, ask them to go and review you on House. This is so, so important. If you have a client who's on the fence and they're not sure if they want to hire you, can they afford you, it's wonderful. It's vetted through House. Everybody knows you can't write your own review. You've got to email through your House account. You're going to be blown away what people write. And if you have someone that's a new potential client, you say, you know what, just go on House, check out all the reviews from my previous clients. They're going to sign the contract and send it out to you the same day. So that is a huge, huge value with House. I recommend everybody take advantage of. Somebody else is out there selling you, and they're doing it on this amazing platform.
And 2 quick comments on that, because I appreciate you mentioning that. One is you can respond to every review on House. This is another branding opportunity. Don't look at it as like, this is a pain in the butt. You can write, thank your client, mention something about the relationship that you built during that time, or a special aspect of the project that you love. This is another thing that people read that are like, they really built a relationship. It wasn't just transactional, or there's really some there. So that's, again, a great branding opportunity. And the other is, when you have those conversations with clients, you know what they love about you, you know why they hire you. When I think about writing your business description, whether it's on your website or House or anywhere else, if you think about all of those people, I call them the nice stalkers, right? They're looking at you and you don't know they exist yet. They haven't contacted you, they're doing that research. be proactive. What you want to do is, if they were going to pick up the phone and call you, don't wait for that. Tell them whatever you were going to tell them over the phone or the first in-person meeting in your business description, because you know the questions that those clients or potential clients are going to have. They want to know what it's going to be like to work with you. They want to know, what your expertise is. So all the things that people ask you in person, put it out there so that you don't have to hope that they call you so that you have the opportunity to have that conversation. Give it to them in a self-service manner, right? And with your best foot forward, your best face forward, so that they want to reach out to you and you've answered those questions proactively.
I think that's fantastic. One of the things that I've heard talked about a lot, Liza, and this isn't just for house, but really whenever interior designers put their project photography out there, is they'll get a lot of questions from DIYers like, oh, what's that paint? Or, oh, what's that chair? And the designers will be like, oh my God, I'm not getting anything out of this except for a bunch of looky-loos, right? And again, this isn't just on house, it's on anything that you're putting your product out there. But you have to remember that when you're photographed in a magazine, the magazine is getting calls saying, what's that paint that that person put in that? Like, that's what happens. And not everyone is your audience. Not everyone is your potential client, right? So being kind and helping everywhere that you can, and then using the options to be able to go, oh, well, that's a custom piece. But if somebody wants to know what it was, and it was Robin's Egg Blue from Sherwin-Williams, and you're putting that kindness out,
Yeah.
do you, like,
So
what's your
this is
take
like,
on it?
everybody's pressed for time, and so, we understand that it can be difficult for people to answer questions, and we've sort of deprecated the questions, so hopefully people aren't being overwhelmed by questions. But there are a few tips. One is, most people tend to get the same questions over and over again, so stick the answer in a Word doc or some kind of Word document and copy and paste it, so it takes you 2 seconds to do. And then remember, for the, 10 questions that you get, there are 10 times as many people reading your answer. So in the same way that your response to that review is a branding opportunity, how you answer questions is a branding opportunity. Think about, you're not answering that question for that one DIYer. You're answering the question for that person that you don't know is looking at your profile who's saying, oh, you know what, I could ask this designer a question when I'm working with her and she wouldn't make me feel stupid. Right? She's gonna answer my question, and she's gonna do it in a patient way that doesn't make me feel like, I'm new to design and I don't want to ask stupid questions, because there's a lot of fear and discomfort associated, with doing something you've never done before. So again, I always say, use those as an opportunity to even over answer and say something you do want to communicate about yourself or your expertise. Like, hey, it's Robin Eggs Blue, and I chose this because, I really thought about X, Y, and Z. And then, you've got a true potential client reading it going, oh, that's that's so interesting. And so, again, all of these touch points, you have to think about all the invisible, nice stalkers out there that you're not seeing, that you're not hearing from directly, that you're actually making an impression upon. So.
Yeah.
So, just to chime in there.
Oh, there we go.
So just to chime in there as well, that actually, if you're a designer, it can work to your benefit as well. If you are going ahead and you're answering questions, or you're sharing in an Instagram post or your Facebook post about a specific product or a project that you're working on, mention those brands. Because eventually, and a lot of really great designers like Libby who have collections, if you continue to share and you continue to have those partnerships, then you get the licensing deals, and you can go through the royalties, then they're going to be able to support you, which will not only build all of your Google prolific nature, but it will also help you with all the e-commerce platforms as well. And then it's really a raindrop effect, which the wonderful Kelly Ellis taught us about a few years ago, but it's a huge thing that you have to keep in mind. So, make sure you have those strong partnerships. Make sure you use your hashtags and shout outs to them, because at the end of the day, they're going to go share, they're going to repost, it's going to make you more prolific and have a bigger presence in the e-commerce sphere at the end of the day.
Does that feel overwhelming to you guys? No? Makes sense, right? Okay, good. The other thing also, someone said earlier that Libby, there's plenty of business for all designers everywhere. This is not you might be bidding on a project with three or four different designers, but there are so many other projects. And I think that in cultivating your online presence, the most important thing that you have to do goes along with what Liza and the girls were just talking about, of you have to know who you are, right? And you're looking for a specific type of client. That specific type of client is looking for you. So where do you place yourself? Where is that specific type of client? Are you working with millennials in their college and first apartments and first houses? Are you working with the older millennials or the Gen Xers, right, that are in their 40s and 50s and they're more settled and they have kids and they have a higher price point range? Are you working with ultra high net worth individuals and you're on their second and third homes? Hospitality, right? So it's not just do a website and try to look your best. It's communicating your why. What do you do? How do you serve your client? What type of client is your ideal client? Because you don't, that's who you're going to speak to, and then that's who's going to speak back to you and then want to hire you. And so you do that on your own website, you do it in your social media. Like Libby was saying, if you're not great on video, you can still walk a project and go, oh my God, we just got this in, blah, 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 right? You, like Liza was saying, if you're not good on video, then do blogs, do before and afters, write about, because the nice stalker, I'm totally stealing that. I'm gonna use that forever. But thank you guys, that was really fantastic. All right, Dan, you're the only one I haven't talked to here, right?
Save the best for last, man.
I said that, but I hadn't actually gotten to the last. So you have been dealing with retailers and brands for 20 years. So in terms of what we've been talking about in be one place, be super niche, be multi-channel, be everywhere, diluting your brand. People get worried about, oh, well, I shouldn't put my brand here or here because it's not exactly, what do you think?
So I know that all the brands in here aren't going to want to hear this, but ideally you're doing everything. And that seems super overwhelming. What I would say is, so I've worked with a lot of brands over the years, so I would say where you start is just do something, but do it well. If you need a starting point, start with your website and invest as much time as it takes to get your website looking really good and performing really well. If you already have a website, and I'm assuming most brands in here do already have a website, that's when you start venturing out into the marketplaces. So Amazon's one of the biggest marketplaces in the world. It's definitely the biggest marketplace in America, so I always say go to where your buyers are. So most of your buyers are going to be on Amazon, and where I think people struggle is they try to do a little bit in too many different marketplaces. I don't think that's the right strategy to take. I think you should, if you're going to do Amazon, focus on Amazon and do really well on Amazon. Make sure that all your product information is correct, all of your images are correct, everything is there where it needs to be. And if you're selling your product, and most brands don't sell absolutely all of their product, but sell as much of your product as you can on Amazon. But focus on it and do it well. And then once you start selling on Amazon and Wayfair and House, and you're selling on the big marketplaces, that's when you can start moving forward to looking at the niche marketplaces. And every brand, every type of product is a little bit different. But I would say, focus on your website, focus on the big marketplaces, and then work your way down to the niche marketplaces. And I think you know your product better than anyone else. You know what the niche marketplaces are. And if the niche marketplaces for your product are more important than Amazon, then start there. But if you don't know what those niche marketplaces are, do Google searches, talk to other people in your industry. But that's really how you go from just selling on your website, working your way down to the marketplaces, and working your way down to the niche marketplaces. But the most important thing is just go to where the buyers are. And then just to mention one thing that I wanted to mention when Jason was talking, is he was talking about purchase a PIM system. I'm the product owner for Product Fastlane, which is a PIM system. And we were also talking about not having Product Information Management, PIM. That's what PIM means.
Product Information Management.
PIM's really important because PIM is what allows you to manage your product data and images for your website, for Amazon, for Wayfair, for House, for the niche marketplaces. You can do that all in one place. So instead of having to keep 20 different spreadsheets going for all of your product data, for all of those different marketplaces, you do it in one place and it distributes it everywhere. So that's critically important. So when you start getting overwhelmed with all these marketplaces, a PIM system is a good place to start.
Awesome.
Can I get your card?
Exactly.
Can I get a time check? Does anybody have what time it is?
12:02.
There's no,
12:02.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So we had more to share, but that was so fantastic. And we went through so much there. Do you guys feel like you got some good knowledge there? Yeah? All right, so let's give a really warm thank you to our panelists, and then we're going to go into before we go into Q&A, I'm just going to ask everyone to stand up and do a little stretch for like 5 seconds, okay? Now we're sitting, right? Everybody, say hello to your neighbors for a second, and then we're going to move into the Q&A. Okay, guys. All right, let's have a seat and start with the Q&A. Here we go. Thanks for everyone who came for the first part. Really, really appreciate it. Have a great market. All right, guys, do we have a microphone to pass around?
ooh, do we have an
Yes?
extra microphone?
Okay, good. Yeah?
Anybody have any questions? Don't be shy.
There we go. She'll come right to you. Hold on.
Yeah, hi. I probably asked this question before somewhere, but it might be more for, I don't know if it's for Jason or for who on the panel, but one thing I sort of noticed is that there seems to be a bit of a disconnect from what like I hear Jason say and what I hear the panel say. It's just that they have a really big production and success going, but it's brick and mortar, and it's through. I'm so glad to hear you say about relationships, because even in our little business, that's all what it is about. And we've launched e-com in our little boutique design center, and where we are in this past year, and so we struggle with these things, but we've long suspected some things, and I can never find the information on this. And I've always suspected that, you know, in the home decor furnishing business, e-com is suitable for the little things. And because we sit there and go, you know, we hear the horror stories of the wayfarers, because they deliver stuff broken all the time to people who might be our clients. And it's not free when they dump it off at the front door type of thing. We always go, you know, what's the percentage of people or of the furnishings that are the big things, the sofas? You know, the sofa that you can get in 400 fabrics or what have you.
Well,
and you know, so that's what we're sort of
let's
wondering.
ask Liza, how much of the big furniture?
A lot. I mean, if you think people aren't buying big stuff, people are buying tile, bathtubs, vanities, and the majority arrive unbroken. Have people completely solved the last mile problem? No. Is there room for improvement for e-commerce over the future? 100%. But people absolutely want the convenience of buying big things as well as small things online.
Do you find that they're getting better at estimating scale? I know with Furniture.com in the early 2000s, their returns were so enormous, and their broken pieces that they actually couldn't make it through there and make a profit.
Yeah, I mean, that's changed, you know, enormously, and
Right.
most large commerce companies have the data to understand what the returns and build that into their
But I mean,
overall
the consumers,
product.
when they're ordering an armoire, it's actually, they're not, like, they understand, oh, if it's 7 feet, the scale is like this.
Got it. Well, again, this is kind of where the digital tools, right, and as a technology company, that's a big place where we've invested in, right, is to give people, you know, even with your Apple phone now, right, those kind of measurements are able to be done. So we now have tools where you can take that product and actually put it to scale in the room, and obviously providing measurements, etc., is important. Customer service, so even though you don't have in-showroom customer service, we have a huge phone customer service team, so if you're not sure that thing is going to fit, you can absolutely call or chat or talk to somebody and try to get that help. And then of course, you know, the hope is that people are going to hire designers, right, for these larger scale projects where they really have that thing to sort out. So again, these are all problems that need to be solved, but as technology is moving forward very quickly, they will be solved. I mean, I think that's the bottom line, is that it's only getting better and better and more sophisticated. The amount of power you have in a phone when you're shopping is really mind-blowing, and it's only increasing.
But we don't know the numbers, dude. Like, I mean, that's the one thing, like,
Can you put the microphone with him?
I get the e-com, I mean, you can't deny that part of it, and it just, we're just sitting there going, well, what's the percentage of, you know, like, these transactions that are, I mean, that are larger items versus smaller items, you know, because we talk to we're in a market center of 1 million people, we talk to our clients all the time, and we can hear different stories, and what, you know, is out there.
We're a privately owned company, so making a profit matters, to us. And we spend like 90% of our time talking about e-commerce, but it only represents about 2% of our business. We are trying to figure it out, and so far it has not been a profitable thing for us. If we were, and listen, we have a 300,000 square foot distribution center. We have access to 1,000 brands. We have a fleet of trucks that delivers all across the country, and we still haven't been able to do it and make it profitable. So I'm not giving up. I'm just saying that there's a solution in there for us with the web. That's a lot of it's lead generation. What we're trying to do is get that client into the hands of one of our qualified design consultants who can work through the process with them. It's complex, and these people that we have at Furnitureland South, 175 design consultants, they bring tremendous value to the table. Brands don't mean that much in furniture anymore, unfortunately. Like if 10 years ago you would have told me that like Broyhill is not a brand, and Drexel Heritage is not a brand, and Henrydon's not a brand, 10 years from now I would have laughed you like right out of the room. But consumers, I think, for them to transact larger purchases online, they have to really have that brand confidence. I think the verticals are doing really well in the space, but as a company that represents lots of brands, in home furnishings in the mid to high end, it hasn't clicked yet.
You're still figuring it out. Rachel?
Yeah, so to your point, so whether you are a brick and mortar retailer or you are a designer, here's the two things that I tell people within my own PR marketing firm, because I work with interior designers there, is go and make sure you have very strong relationships with your brands, not just on the licensing side, but go and walk through their warehouses. Look at their packaging, talk to them about it. Make sure that everything's being represented. And then when it comes to scaling, it comes to sourcing, it comes to making your clients very comfortable, over 40% of all purchases on e-commerce are done via mobile images. So those 6 images that you see, how your brand, how you are represented next to them, are very, very important. One of the first things that we do with all the brands that we work with at Lunch Marketing is we make sure there's a schematic image in that mobile image. Because if somebody, especially a millennial like myself, I'll say I'm 31, I'm a millennial, sorry y'all. But honestly, we go through, and if I see, it's 76 inches tall, perfect, I know that's gonna fit in my room. I know I've got an 11-foot ceiling. This works for me, and my designers love it as well, because it's easy sourceability if you're at a lunch or a cocktail hour or a coffee house with your client. Keep those sorts of things in mind. That's where it really goes back to content at the end of the day, is you need to have optimized content, and it's great to have PMI systems. I think that's a fantastic tool. But the other thing to keep in mind is every single platform, Amazon, Wayfair, Walmart, House, they all have different search engine algorithms. Those keywords are different for each of them. So you have to make sure that your brand is partnering with someone who is doing all of that research for you and is making sure that everything is hyper optimized so that you see the conversions come through. And believe me, once they do that, they give you those keyword banks, then you're on social media running it like it's fun.
Awesome. Rachel and Dan and Liza also, as a specific answer to his question, do you have any analytics in terms of your clients and when they're selling on Amazon of the average sale or the average item? Because I understand what he's trying to ask, which is, okay, so there's all this tremendous selling that's happening, but are your clients selling like the occasional furniture and the lighting and the lamping and or the big furnishing products, and what's that percentage? Is it 80% in the smaller market and 20% big? Like,
I mean, we work with we work with brands that sell all different types of items. I can't personally speak to how profitable it is to sell large furniture versus your everyday gift at home items. I do know that it does occur, and I do know it occurs on a variety of websites, marketplaces across the board. It's really a matter of fulfillment. I know that you guys are probably doing a great job producing the product. It's just a matter of who's fulfilling it, how's it getting shipped, what's the cost of that shipping, how is that shipping rolled into the total price? Is it free shipping? Is it rolled in? And it's something that I know that our brands struggle with, especially with like the big ticket items, large items that have to be shipped. I don't know, like I don't have a great answer for it. I don't know that anyone here on the panel has a great answer for it, but it is definitely an issue.
But let's keep it a tight answer because we have another
Yeah, I mean,
question.
I think the short answer is return rates are too high. Doesn't matter what manufacturer, brand, anyone you talk to, but this is part of the evolution with the new business and e-commerce. To put out a number out there, I can put out a Zuo number, not relevant. Could I put out a rug number? We don't sell rugs. It's going to vary from manufacturer to manufacturer. At the end of the day, the rate is too high. I think to me the answer is, for those of you who are in the interior design space, that's a big selling point. Because the pain point of a customer buying online, whether it's through you or through any portal site, whatever, that's the service and the value you're offering. Where you can go in and say, here's the story, here's the design, this is going to fit. Ooh, that thing you pushed on at 2 in the morning when you couldn't sleep because the baby was crying, it's not going to work. It's going to be 3 times as big as what you think. Here's the wall sticks. That's the expertise I think that the interior design community has, and that's a big selling point. It goes back to the storytelling. Whether it's design experts at Furnitureland South or any other retailer, online hasn't caught up to that. I think House is doing a great job with content. People are headed in that direction, but that loop hasn't been, that circle hasn't been completed. I mean, it's getting there, but it's been 20 years in the making, and it's not.
Which is baby for an industry.
Yeah, but I would just say, like, yes, are people still coming into furniture stores? Yes, but don't let that be a sign for you that they're not buying online.
No.
I think that's not a good interpretation of the data that you're experiencing on a day-to-day basis.
And it's also testing and seeing, it's testing. You have to test and see what's working. There are tons of reports and tons of data analytics and tons of everything, but again, you're the business owner, so you study them. You should be an avid learner, like podcasts, experience, panels, like what you're doing right now, and you glean from that what people are doing, because it really still is the wild, wild west. Period. That is it. There are no steadfast rules, right?
But Amazon is training these consumers they go in there, they can transact, they're going to have it on their doorstep tomorrow.
Yeah,
if they don't like it, they can ship it back. But on the furniture side, it takes longer.
Yep.
And there's a lot of logistics involved.
Well,
I think it even goes beyond Amazon though. At the end of the day, it comes down to the iPhone and the phone in general. I mean, the technology has changed, the platform has changed, and I think step out of the world of furniture, go to the shopping mall, see what's happening in shopping malls. Shopping malls are not what they were 10 or 20 years ago. Retail America was way over square footage in terms of space. That's changing. Now you're seeing not now, but you're seeing a shift to experiential experiences. You're seeing restaurants, you're seeing gyms, you're seeing movie theaters. The social hub of the mall is not a retail environment. It's completely changing. So again, I think also take off the blinders and don't just think furniture or interior design. Think on a much larger scale. We have a generation of people who are growing up with a device in their hand, and that's what they're doing. And once you understand that, then say, that's a tool. So how do I go to the physical store? Or how do I go online with my client and help them through that process? You can be the Sherpa, you can be the guide. I think that's a big opportunity.
I agree with you, but
House is
also,
doing a great job capitalizing in that direction.
absolutely. But and with that said, you were talking about the story, Liza. You were talking about the story, the provenance, and what millennials are wanting as well. And there are entire pushes that are happening right now with turning off the phones and having experiences and retreats. And so again, there's no steadfast rules. E-commerce online is never going away. There is expectation that's being put there. Amazon has trained people to want things instantly, but now there's the whole conversation that's happening around people wanting meaning in their life, people talking to people, it not just being about likes, right? And so just like a little interesting tidbit, I have a designer friend who he has a showroom that he's combined with a high-end hair salon. And so you walk through the furniture showroom to get to the hair salon because that's how they get to their buyers. They're doing over $2 million a year in product sales in that showroom, right? So when you're talking about mixing and matching and omni-channel and offline and online and all of these crazy words, you, again, be where your buyers are, think about how you can reach to them, talk to them, right? Talk to who your customers are, etc. So, there you go, yeah?
This may be a bit off topic, but Libby, in your personal interior design practice, how many people do you have as part of your team that, you know, say you're the client-facing person all the time? How many people do you have as part of your team who are helping you execute and deliver the promises that you make?
Three people work for me, a junior designer, an admin person, and a bookkeeper. Separately, I have a social media person, a PR person, and then an attorney who does all my licensing. But when it comes to designing the actual projects and all the product, I'm doing it.
And let me just put that in scale. Last year, she completed 21 projects. The year before, 17. So that's an average of 2 projects being completed every single month with 3 people.
How many markets?
Yeah, forget that.
And that doesn't include the rugs I designed, the lighting I designed, the outdoor furniture I designed. So,
we need to have a whole panel just for how do you live your life, Libby?
And somehow we were interested to be on our panel today because she's an expert at everything. So thank you.
No.
Any other questions?
Can you give us examples of
Can you talk into the mic so the people behind you?
An example of the PIM software, like a couple brands that you like of that software?
Well, I'm going to promote my own, obviously. Product Fastlane, it's really good. It's productfastlane.com if you want to look it up. You're on InRiver?
No, we looked at InRiver, we looked at Saucify, and we looked at Riversand. And we ended up with Riversand, really mainly because of the vendor portal that they have. And we needed to get the help from our vendors to be able to feed this information in as opposed to our staff taking spreadsheets and trying to put it in. So the vendor portal was probably the biggest differentiator for us.
Do you work with a lot of PIMs? Liza?
No, everything we have is homegrown because it's such a complicated platform. Everything has to be integrated.
So the brands have to, but they can.
They still send, yeah. We still
stuff.
have feeds in EDI, but we kind of take it and crunch it and put it places
Right.
throughout the platform so it gets max exposure.
Yeah, absolutely. Good, great question. Another question?
I'm a retailer mostly in the gift kind of area of things, and we've been an online seller since '96. And recently, the last 3 years or so, we're encountering a lot more brands that are actively blocking online sales or certain channels. Is that a growing trend across other markets, or is there a way to combat that? Like, it seems counterintuitive to everything that we've done up to this point.
Are they blocking you marketing their brands under your retail umbrella?
Yeah, well, we can only sell at brick and mortar. So currently our online sales make about 20%, and the rest is brick and mortar. And they're restricting to either only brick and mortar or our own website.
But are they selling online?
A lot of them are.
Okay.
Yep.
Liza, can you put on?
Microphone through. So one thing that we've seen is that you talked a little bit about MAP. Because that is such an issue for so many companies, they're often finding like they're tracking who's breaking MAP, or they're finding that managing a ton of small e-commerce outlets is not something they're capable of doing effectively. And so we have seen a lot of brands narrow down the number of e-commerce outlets they're working with so that it's not so many cats to herd. So that might be one reason, is they're looking at their volume and saying, these are the ones that are driving our volume. We want to make sure we're doing this right, and then kind of whittling down where they're operating.
Does that help? Does that help answer your question?
It's the why. I could tell you, it's like, whether it's the right decision or how to work with them, but that's usually the issue.
What I think it is it's similar to retail, and one of my retail stories that I think was part of the change in department store retail in this country, is that the joke was you could walk in blindfolded, you could walk into any department store, walk into the cosmetics department, spin around, take the blindfold off, and you didn't know if you were in May Company, Federated, Neiman Marcus, Nordstrom's, Macy's. They all looked the same. They all had Lancome, they all had Shiseido, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I think the concern from a brand perspective is if your brand is out there everywhere, the saturation in the market really dilutes your meaning and what's your story and what's the story you're telling. And so I think from a brand perspective, it's one of the things we're looking at and I'm looking at is how do we pull the herd and really figure out who's important as a partner and who's not, because as Jason said and the rest of the panel said, the work going to online is not just you flip a switch and you're online and it's a big party and all the sales come in. There is a lot of work and a lot of effort, and when you have to diversify what you think is a simple template or a set of images, and you have to do that 100 different ways or 50 different ways or even 10 different ways for each partner, that's time and energy. And so then you start saying, if I'm getting X amount of sales and it's costing me these amount of hours, am I making money? And so it's really a business decision at the end of the day.
And maybe for you as a retailer where you're dependent on brands that you want to sell online on your umbrella, you can go research out the types of brands that would want access to your community. So if you have a community of, I don't know, South Beach, Miami people, you speak to that, you feel that, you've got Latin music on your website, whatever, then you start going and Googling and finding products from brands that want to reach that market, and so you're building both and you're creating your own niche community e-commerce thing instead of trying to compete at a larger area. Like you have to find the brands that fit what you're doing too, right?
One thing I would comment too, I did a panel last week in Dallas at the market, and that's a huge gift show, and there was a girl that was on this panel and her main business was gift product, and she said she has found that Instagram has helped her grow her bricks and mortar store because so much of the gift product she's been able to photograph in a really beautiful, creative way, or do a fun video with it or something. And she said it's helped her reach a really young group in her area. I think in Austin, Texas, I can't remember where, but she said Instagram for the gift business for her has been a real game changer because so much of it's really colorful and beautiful, and she said people have just come to know her for her photographs. So it might be a fun boost or something to try with the product because it is so much eye candy. So it was interesting to hear that was a game changer for her.
Are you bricks and mortar and online, or are you trying to just be online? You're both. And that's fantastic insight right there. Well, because the brands are trying to control their message and their dilution, right? Because that's a very real thing for them also. Again, you're in the wild, wild west. There are no firm rules. You just have to, there are billions of people out there. You do not want billions of people, whether you're a designer, a brand, and anyone. You've got to have who you are that makes sense and that somebody can lock onto. It's that brand, that story. Are you middle market? Are you luxury? Are you, and then you bring that. But the Instagram and bringing people in and Instagramming, oh my God, we just got a new shipment and look at this stationery. And then they're like, oh my God, we have to go in. We're doing a tea party at 3 in the afternoon. Come in, see the new stationery. We also got these new whatever. Like, you just have to test it out and see what your public and talk to them. What do they want, right? Yeah.
So my question
5 minutes, by the way. Oh, okay. Okay, this is the last question. We'll answer it really quick and go. Sorry.
Okay, quick question for Rachel.
So I need to brush up on some of my marketing, speaking of Instagram and filters. And I'd like to know how we can create that filter without other people using it. Just little things like that. Do you have a suggestion for how I can, maybe is there a shorter program or a book versus going back to school and committee.
You know what,
years.
honestly, YouTube videos are, I mean, Liza was just chanting in my ear. YouTube videos are really the best thing at the end of the day. They keep you up to date, they're very short, they're very quick. And even though, you know, most of us are here working in home furnishings and gift and lighting and textiles and those industries, look into fashion. Look into, I will say, kids products right now. There are a lot of really great children's products and toys that are doing Instagram videos, or not Instagram, but YouTube videos regarding how to brand yourself. Make sure you're looking outside of the initial marketplace or your initial area of expertise in order to find those sorts of resources.
And inspiration.
Yeah, you can learn anything on YouTube. So you literally Google it, and I 100% echo what Rachel said, which is look at other industries. Like don't be afraid of watching a video that's about another industry, because you'll get some creative tips that you might not even get looking at the industry.
Fantastic. We need to actually end it because people have to get to their next thing. But we're going to be here. Come join us for champagne, right? There's questions. You can just meet them yourselves.
I invite you guys all to join us in A442, fourth floor in Building A. That's the Zoa showroom. We also are partnering with Ivy. They donated the gift bags, and we've got a bunch of swag in there. So if you don't know anything about Ivy, they do designer software. They will simplify your life and help you make more money. They're also going to be giving demos at A442, so come and book an appointment with these lovely ladies. They have a beautiful lounge. We've got a full bar. We've got a ton of snacks, margaritas. So come and join us.
A442.
442.
442.
Yeah. And Serena at Zoa. So if you have any
Thank
questions
you
about
guys.
Zoa, I look forward to answering them. Thank you guys so
Thank
much
you,
for coming.
Zoa.